It's showtime!
Yo, what is going on, Patriots Nation? It is I, your science guy, with Aiden Hauser, the father of Patriots Nation, and we are here one day before the NFL draft to break it all down for you, let you know our thoughts, and let you know what we think the Patriots should be doing, give you a little preview of what's going to happen in Green Bay. And Aiden, you're going to be there.
Dude, I'm going to be there. I'm so excited. Lambeau's like 20 minutes away from my house, so getting off work a little early, and hopefully traffic isn't too bad. I can get up close and see the Patriots take Travis Hunter at 4.
Yes. I like the spirit.
Yeah.
Are you? Is it in Lambeau itself?
No, I don't think so. I think so. There's Lambeau's just kind of. There's Lambeau, and then there's like another building next to it called the Resch Center, which like a lot of hockey games and basketball or hockey games and like a bunch of other random stuff happen. I think it's in between the two, just in the middle of one of the streets.
Nice.
So yeah, it's gonna be pretty crazy because like there's not much to do here. So I wonder how many like of these players are bored out of their mind.
Yeah, who does Green Bay have their eyes on? What are the locals saying?
A lot of the locals really like Egbuka. But one of my buddies is convinced they're going to take Shamar Stewart, and he is really not happy about it. But that's why he thinks they're going to take him, because he does not like him.
Yeah.
But everyone's hoping Egbuka or like a receiver, but they don't think it's going to happen because I don't think they haven't taken a receiver in the first round in like 20 years or something.
Well, that brings up an interesting question, actually. Like you talk about players that we really wouldn't like. Who's our Cole Strange? Who is the one where you'll look at and be like, or the Cole Strange or N'Keal Harry, where we'll just be like, what did we just do?
Okay, actually, I was just talking to a friend about this. Obviously we want the goal is for either Hunter or Carter to fall to us. That probably won't happen. I've come to terms with us that we're probably going to take Will Campbell. But if for whatever reason we decide to take Mason Graham, I'm going to lose it. And I'm going to riot. Because I mean, there's been a couple mocks I've seen that he's mocked to us, but it's like we don't need another interior defensive lineman.
The only defensive player we should be taking with that pick, well, other than Travis Hunter, depending on what position you count him, like the only defensive lineman we should be taking at that pick is Abdul Carter if he's available.
Yeah. Or I've also even heard, I think what's his name? Jalen Walker from Georgia is another one who's been getting some steam.
Yeah.
And he's like an edge. That wouldn't be the worst, but I still think we could probably trade back a couple of picks and still get him. It's just 4 is just such a tough spot without a quarterback and no like blue chip guys outside of the first 2 or Genty.
Yeah.
That it's just kind of interesting. I just feel like 4 is like such a bad spot to be in.
Right. And I also, we did make a couple acquisitions at linebacker. And so
right,
we could use a linebacker because we inexplicably released Bentley. And that's I want to talk about this real quick because it was really, it was a disheartening thing to see. And we haven't been able to get on the artist stream since it happened. What are your thoughts?
I'm sorry, on what?
On Juwan Bentley's release.
Oh, I didn't even hear you say that. I was astonished. He was our leading tackler the last few seasons, I believe. Like I don't understand why we released him. It's like I figured we could have at least restructured some sort of deal. Yeah, I mean, like the Josh Uche was like a surprise, but I think this was the biggest one. I don't know if it's Vrabel just kind of gutting the whole team and kind of having his own guys or what, but he was our I don't know, he was our guy when he was obviously healthy.
Yeah, and it kind of creates, I'm a little bit more interested in Jalen Walker because of that. It kind of creates a need that wasn't really there at linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
It was a pretty good position for us, and now all of a sudden we have to think about this. So that's never great to see.
No.
I just like for many reasons. It's a young team. He's a veteran presence. You've got a guy who has abilities both against the pass and against the run. Like we've seen him, as you said, he's an extremely elite tackler, but he can get the occasional pick. You can use him in pass coverage. You can use him for a little bit of everything. We have some new linebackers. Who better to help get them up to speed?
Right.
And so it was very surprising to me.
Yeah, I mean, I get it if it's like a changing of the guards or whatever, but maybe he thinks Spillane is just a cheaper alternative because I know he's like a really good run defender, but I don't know. Like we had the guy who like knows the system and has been doing it for a handful of years, and he's not a flashy name. Like I couldn't imagine his contract being that crazy. I don't remember it, but
yeah, I don't think it was all that much.
Did he get signed yet?
I actually don't know. He seems like he's a free agent. We should just try to sign him back, honestly, if he's on waivers.
Yeah, for real.
Whether or not he'll work really well for another team, we know he works well for us. He's a good fit for the system. Maybe Vrabel feels differently, but the proof of concept is there.
Mm-hmm.
The linebacker is gonna be the most interesting position. I feel like next year, the most unpredictable. It's gonna be a completely different look than what we had last year.
Right. Yeah, because we also got rid of. Did we release Taki also, right?
Right.
And then we got Harold Landry, who I guess he's more. I think he profiles more of like an outside rusher.
Right, and we got Spillane as well.
Yeah, I wonder what it's going to look like because I also don't think we have very many guys who like drop into coverage all that often for linebackers. Like those guys are like run stoppers or rushers.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, we didn't because was it this year that Bentley tore his pectoral? Or was that last year? I think it was this year.
It was this year, yeah.
So I mean, like we obviously had a full season without him, but it's just kind of weird that we're going to enter in 25 willingly without him.
Yeah. I mean, we had a full season without him, but it's not like our defense was playing lights out football during that time.
No.
There were many moments where I felt like we could use Bentley's leadership and we could use his acumen. And so certainly a surprise.
Right.
But we move on. We're on to the draft, as Belichick would say.
On the Green Bay.
Yeah, it does seem like the prevailing dialogue is that we're going to take Will Campbell. I've been also watching some tape from Armand Membu.
Mm-hmm.
He's interesting to me, but I think we need a true left.
Mm-hmm.
We're fine on right tackle, and I'd prefer someone who's had experience at left than trying to convert right to a left. The hand size is an issue, but it has yet to manifest on the tape. And like you can do all the measurables you want. It's all about the tape. He played against high quality defenses at the highest level and played really well. So
Right. And like honestly, it's kind of funny. I was on a Will Campbell kick for like even last year, like, oh, we're gonna get this guy like early. He's gonna be so good. And then all of this whole narrative about his arms being too short came out, and it kind of just like, I don't know, made me not like him. And then just like the last few days I've been thinking about it. I'm like, but the guy can like he's had short arms his whole career and he's still like playing. He's incredibly well.
yeah.
And I think I even remember, I think I was reading an article and somebody, I can't remember if you told me or if it was an article I read, but I remember I just heard something, but it was like Dante Scarnecchia was talking about like linemen. And I think he was asked about like short arm length. And he was like, I mean, yeah, like obviously you want guys with longer arms, but like if the guy can play, he can play. We're not going to be like, oh, this guy has super short arms. This guy's has longer arms, so he's going to be better. Like that's not always the case. There's some like left tackles out there with shorter arms, but like they can still play well.
Yeah, and when Scarnecchia speaks, you listen. It's
right,
and yeah, when you watch the film, you don't see the arm length manifest at all. And obviously, yes, there's a size gap in the NFL. But when you're playing at a place like LSU, you've also played a lot of NFL caliber defensive ends,
right?
And Will Campbell, like he's very fast and has quick reflexes for an offensive lineman. He strikes me as the kind of guy who's going to be able to place his hands in the right place very quickly. And really, once you get the right placement, the size doesn't matter.
Right.
It's a question of, you might have that occasional extremely fast defender that you may not be able to quite get your hands on, but most likely, even if you get your hands on that guy, if you're late, it wasn't going to work anyway. And so it's really easy to really focus on those measurables. But and Belichick would agree on this, and I think so would Vrabel. What's on the tape is what's on the tape. Once I see his, until I see his small hands, arm size hurt him, I'm not going to read into it.
Well, I mean, like we see this happen every year of like everyone just takes the measurables too much into consideration. Like obviously, like you can't just ignore them, but it's not like I don't know. It shouldn't be a game changer of like, oh, he's so good, but like his arms are a little short. Because I mean, we look at like Bucky Irving. He was like, oh, he's undersized and he ran like a 4.5. And his stock plummeted a bit, and then it's like, well, now he's like a pretty significant piece to the Buccaneers offense and like one of the better young running backs in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to see how that translates in the NFL, but for me, the traits that I care about when I look at offensive linemen are like, first of all, just like your fast twitches. How quick after the snap do you get your feet moving? How do you ground your feet? How do you place your hands? How do you follow through on a block? And he has all of those things. How do you create space?
Mm-hmm.
And he knows how to protect the quarterback. LSU quarterbacks have played very well and been difficult to touch under his tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that he was blocking for Jaden Daniels, and how good of a season did he have a couple of years ago? And he's also he had a really good broad jump in the combine, so he's got athleticism in terms of more than just speed. He can cover space. So I think he may not be the most exciting pick in terms of some of the skill positions, but it's a dire need. If you look at the Patriots hierarchy of needs, they're still not completed at receiver by any means, but they got Diggs. They're not completed at cornerback by any means, but with Carlton Davis and Gonzalez, they're in a decent position. They've got a solid top two now.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Marcus Jones is a cornerback 3, not so bad. And so at that point, you look at the needs. For me, it's got to be Will Campbell. Yeah, there are other options that I would be okay with at that pick. And if you're listening, Cleveland and New York, I'm really jealous that y'all get to have your hands on Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward, the two players you should definitely be picking ahead of us.
Well, I mean, even Jackson Dart too. Like he's going to be the next Josh Allen. So like, why shouldn't Tennessee think of any of them? Like they should. All three of those quarterbacks should be taken 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. Sanders is probably going to be the next Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Cam Ward is probably going to be the next Tom Brady.
Yeah.
This is the best quarterback draft ever in NFL history. How can you not take quarterbacks with the top 3 picks? And it's fine if that happens. I guess we'll take Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
Yeah,
leave us
okay. Like we get it. You guys got your quarterback in the future. We'll just take the scraps. It's fine.
Yeah, disappointing.
Yeah, it would be such a bummer to see one of those two guys get picked by us, especially in person. I'm just kind of
It's gonna be interesting. The other thing, Travis Hunter said that he's definitely seeking a 2-way role. Like he doesn't want to play just one position. If he were to get drafted by us, do you think Vrabel will let him do that? I think in the Belichickian era, you would definitely see a very hard stance of no, that's not how we do things here. You're a quarterback, so you're playing cornerback. Maybe we'll put you in a couple roles as receiver. But I look at the proof of concept that we got with Marcus Jones, and every time he comes into offense, he's electric.
Well, I mean, you also just got to look at Vrabel and be like, the man was the best 2-way player in NFL history.
Right.
Great defender, and also 10 touchdown catches on 10 targets. Like, come on.
I do, as ironic as that is, I do think Vrabel will look at that and be like, if he can do both, why not let him do both?
Yeah, if he's good, why not try it? I mean, maybe that's not the whole career, but it's
yeah,
he did it in college.
And you're probably not starting him in both positions, right? You're probably one of the positions you're designing packages for him. But given our cornerback situation, he can be a cornerback 3 or 4.
I know. I was gonna say if he was our outside receiver in a nickel corner or something, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And Vrabel is a creative guy when it comes to play calling. And of course we have, when you have McDaniels, it completely widens the scope of what you can do offensively. You can be really interesting with it. Because honestly, when any of these other offensive coordinators wanted to start playing around, it would give me a heart attack because I'm like, y'all aren't even good at playing it safe. I don't like y'all playing around, but you get that, you have that security with McDaniels. He knows when to be orthodox. He knows when to be a little unorthodox. He knows how to run an offense. And so, I could see him designing some really interesting packages for Travis Hunter, the cornerback, to play receiver. And honestly, I could see Vrabel designing some really interesting packages for Travis Hunter, the receiver, to play cornerback. So either way, it's good. And it's, we're going to have to settle for that because I don't see any way in which these other 3 teams can pass on such generational quarterbacks.
Yeah, I know. There's tons of them. There's tons of them in this year's draft.
Yeah. But there are a couple other players that could, I'm still intrigued at the possibility of Ashton Jeanty at that pick, although I from a practicalities perspective, it's not quite there. But there have been some issues with Ramondre, and in addition to just being extremely explosive, Jeanty's been pretty secure with the ball.
Mm-hmm.
As good as Ramondre has been, and he has been great with the ball, it's too many fumbles at too many costly moments.
Yeah, and hopefully this is a coaching thing. I don't know. I'm hoping Vrabel can just I don't know. I'm hoping Vrabel can coach out of him. But I mean, also a Genty to New England thing wouldn't be the craziest because Vrabel had his Derrick Henry days too in Tennessee. So it's like, I'm assuming run game is going to want to be a big part of his offense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was completely centered on the run, and I think it's interesting though. Vrabel was able to be so successful when he really had to rely on the run. It will be interesting to see what more wrinkles he can acquire because the pass is all of a sudden open for him.
Right.
He hasn't had a quarterback like this. With all due respect to Ryan Tannehill and Will Levis, it just hasn't been. This Drake May will be the best quarterback he's worked with in a long time. And that's exciting.
Yeah.
You've also got that element of the quarterback run game, and so there are a lot of exciting wrinkles to the offense, and this is why I keep coming back to Will Campbell, where it's that one last wrinkle you need to have at least a minimum set complete offense is that full layer of protection on both sides. And it's just, we have seen how much it's hurt the Patriots to not have that, to consistently be rotating in and out of left tackle. In our first stable season at right tackle, you saw the improvements that there were there on that side. Right tackle used to be a roulette wheel, but now it's, now we kind of have that short up a little bit with Onwenu. And so a left tackle will complete the edges of the offensive line, and our guard situation isn't too bad. We had a good offseason in terms of guard, and so I feel like in terms of gaping holes, a tackle will fill the last one, and then at that point it's all right. We have a solid group at wide receiver, but we probably need one more star, and we can try to get another great player in the draft, see what we can do there. But I don't think we can settle for getting another mediocre tackle in the draft. We need to swing big. You think there's any chance we trade back
out of 4?
Yeah, it seems like that has become less and less of a talking point over the last few weeks.
I think the only way, honestly, anyone's gonna want to trade back. Well, it depends on who falls. I mean, I don't think Carter or Hunter will fall, even though they should. But yeah, I don't know. I heard some rumors about Chicago's really looking at Genty. So I don't know if they would be willing to use some of their capital to trade up to 4 and take him. But again, that's just rumors. I know a lot of the stuff that you hear around draft time is just all smoke, like a smoke screen. So I don't know what to believe and what not to believe. But if someone really wants Genty, I can see them trading up to 4. But I don't know. I just don't think the likelihood of us trading back is all that much there, just because the value is just kind of, I don't know. I was at the top 4 or the blue chip guys. I don't see the 4, 5, 6, 7 being all that different from like 11, 12. Like all of that's just kind of the same value to me. And maybe I'm just so horrible at analyzing it, but that's just kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. No, I'm fully with you there.
I can see us though trading our second, trying to move up to help secure another first rounder just for that 5th-year option. Just because we do have the capital to do that if somebody falls.
Yeah, and if we don't want to go left tackle at 4, which like Tet is still on the periphery of the options that people talk about at 4. There are in maybe later in the first round, Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas, Josh Sims from Ohio State. Yeah. These are also really solid left tackles. They don't have quite the athleticism of a Will Campbell, but they also have better measurables. And so at that point, it could be valuable to kind of take care of two needs in the first round, and then you take the second round off, but you come out of the first round feeling really good.
Yeah.
As far as other needs, I think we need a corner. I'd say we should probably get some more depth at corner after losing Jonathan Jones. We
I
can
think it's
create
a need, but I don't think it's as pressing as a need as some of the others. Like I think a mid-round corner is like, that's what I mean. That's what I.
Yeah, that's like a third, fourth round kind of thing.
But I do think like if we could do like a Will Campbell, and heck, even just like second round, take another one of the tackles, and hopefully be like, okay, one of these guys will be our left tackle, one will be our left guard. I think that's a good route to go. Or even if one of the receivers falls, I've been pounding the table for Egbuka. I think he's just such a safe pick. Just he's just, I don't know. He just does everything really well, and is just he just seems like a Patriot, just with his attitude, his play style. I can envision
the track record for Ohio State. The track record for Ohio State receivers has been phenomenal.
Yeah, so I mean, I haven't been hearing much about him. So if he were to fall towards the end of the first, and if we could somehow trade up for him, and our first round looked like Will Campbell and Egbuka, I would be ecstatic.
Oh, absolutely. It's I watch Egbuka's film, and I am confused why he's not more highly rated. He makes big catches in big moments, extremely reliable. Maybe he doesn't have some of the raw traits, but again, even at receiver, once you're past, like, I think speed matters up to a certain threshold.
Mm-hmm.
Once you're past that threshold, and remind me what Egbuka's 40 time is, if you know.
I don't. I want to say it was somewhere in the 4.4s. I can look it up. But
4.48. I mean, that's a little on the slower side, but it's good enough. Like, I think sub 4.5 is kind of my threshold for speed doesn't matter beyond this.
Yeah. And I mean, he didn't look slow on the field either.
That's the thing. The game speed is completely different. When you're straight line speed doesn't matter all that much when there's a corner guarding you. And for me, the big thing about Egbuka is that I felt like he always had a really good command of field spacing. He kind of knew where his spots were on the field. He knew where he needed to be and what was the most efficient way to get there. And for me, that's so much more important than being like a tenth of a second faster in a straight line, because you're rarely going to get the luxury to be able to run in a straight line in the NFL.
What I like about him is I think he's incredibly smart, and that's what we need. Like, we try to get the athletic guys with like Baker and Polk, who are like, oh, they have just really strong hands and really good like contested catches. But I just want the guy who can find the soft spot in the zones, the guy who's he doesn't have to be flashy. I don't care if he can make all those contested catches. Just be in the right place at the right time, and I don't care. I don't care if he looks cool or not. Like, I think Egbuka would just be. I don't see really. I don't know if he'll necessarily ever be like an elite receiver, but I don't see how he could like just kind of be a bum, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's got a 9.27 RAS, so it's clearly he makes up for maybe a mediocre 40 time in other ways. His shuttle time is really good. His vertical is really good. So it's been a long time since I've seen a Patriots have a receiver that can go up and get 50 balls. Polk had the jumps for it, but then the ball slipped through his hands every time. So, or he'd step out of bounds because he doesn't know where the line is. But in all seriousness, I think we kind of need that balance between your really athletic guy and the guy can actually get 50-50 balls. So I love Ibuka towards the end of the first. I think, and that's another place where like maybe trading back is a little practical. Trading back could be another strategy to get kind of 2 first-round picks. You can trade back your first first-round pick to get 2 picks in the first round. Maybe get a Banks or a Simmons at tackle, and then get an Ibuka as well. That's another way to get 2 first-round picks.
And I think like the simplest way is just like I think there's just clear tiers, and like Will Campbell would be the top of like that second tier, but I think there's a lot of players in that second tier outside of like the elite few.
Yeah, the elite few being Shooter, Sanders, Jackson Dart, and Cam Ward, right?
Right.
Exactly.
And Quinn Ewers too.
Of course, yes. Dylan Gabriel as well. Like this is just you can't go wrong. You've got at least 10 Hall of Famers.
Jalen Milroe. Yeah,
absolutely.
Riley Leonard.
Absolutely. Riley Leonard is just it's just crazy how much talent there is in this draft.
Yeah.
Quarterback. It's and in all seriousness, last year was the perfect year to take care of quarterback. It was, I mean, I can't remember in recent memory a quarterback class that has panned out this well. Everybody thought like last year was what everybody thought 2021 was going to be when there was Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Mac Jones, Justin Fields. Like it's crazy how well this panned out. And Mac Jones had a sophomore slump, but I look at the way that we set up Mac Jones for his second year versus the way we are setting up Drake May for his second year. Upgraded offensive coordinator, better offensive line, especially if we can take care of tackle, a true number 1 receiver in Stephon Diggs. Improvements at obviously, getting Josh McDaniels to call plays, improvement in offensive line coaching. Like this is a complete 180 in terms of setup, where Mac Jones was set up with Matt Patricia, no real improvements at receiver, a couple of big losses. And so this has the potential to be a kind of needle moving year in very much the opposite direction to what 2022 ended up being.
Right.
But this draft is an important kind of first step in that. I've heard some rumors about like, I don't know how much to believe them, but I've heard some rumors about Patriots making swings at AJ Brown. I don't think we'll have the player available at that position to tempt a Philly to go for that. But
I'm pretty sure too there's some sort of like transaction deal where I don't know what it is. I think there's some sort of clause that if he gets like traded or something before a certain time, there's a big cap hit.
Right.
So I don't know, like in a perfect world, in theory, like it would be awesome. I just don't know how likely that is.
And then as for, we've been talking a lot about like the initial rounds, but we've got obviously a bunch of picks, and knowing the Patriots philosophy, we'll see how much it changes with Vrabel, but we're going to try to turn that into even more picks. There are other places where we can go. There are other places where we can look. And so when you're thinking about what the Patriots should do later in the draft, how to address some of the less pressing needs, where would you like them to go in terms of what positions you would like them to attack?
I think that would be a good round. So like, look at corner. I mean, even corner would be good. I think in those mid rounds, but then the late rounds, it would probably be more so of like maybe just some more depth for the line. I think that's where you kind of look at maybe some of these more raw prospects and see if you can kind of get something out of them. Guys who didn't really show much refinement, and hope that some coaching can help them a bit, but they have all the tools and the play strength. I think another backup quarterback would be a good move. I think Dobbs would fit well in the system. I think he's another mobile guy, but he is just kind of getting a little bit older. So I think if we were to find just another young guy in the later rounds, that'd be the way to go. Yeah. And then I think mid round, I think we do need another running back. I don't think. I think Gibson was fine, but I don't know if he just kind of. He and Ramondre have very similar skill sets. I think we need another back with a little more juice than them two.
Yeah, it's just a little vanilla.
It is like you want, like if we're gonna get a pass catching back, it's like okay, like we need that guy who can with a little bit of yak ability instead of okay, Gibson, yeah, you played receiver in college, but like you're still slow. And you can't break tackles, so it's like cool. Thanks for the 3 yards. Like,
yeah, and I'm looking at this running back class. There are some really good running backs that are kind of late in the board.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor Etienne, who has a pretty late grade, but I really like him. Devin Neal out of Kansas is. Maybe, again, not the best measurables, but very good on the field. And then if you want to reach a little bit, maybe go third, fourth round. You've got, I don't know where the boards have TreVeyon Henderson, but he's a really, really great back.
I think he'll be a late first, like early second.
Yeah. This is going to be a good popular draft, I think, for running backs.
It's gonna be a big running back class.
But it's a deep running back class. There are options late, and I'd be interested to see where people actually end up taking.
Yeah.
Do you know? I don't know if you know where Cam Scatterbo is projected, but
I want to say I think I've been hearing a lot. Well, that's the thing is like you hear from other people, but I'm curious to see what the NFL thinks. But I'd assume just from like other podcasts and stuff, he's probably in that like around 4 range. I think either a late day 2, early round, or late day 2, early day 3 pick, something sort of like that.
I think Cam Scatterbo would be a phenomenal get in the 4th round or late 3rd.
Yeah.
Again, one of those guys that it just hits different when he's on the field.
And he's another one of those guys like he's just a football player. Like he'll find a role somewhere. He may never be like that elite guy, but I don't think he's just gonna come to the league and not do anything if he's given a shot.
Exactly. And yeah, I think I agree with your takes. Like I think Ramondre still has more upside than Gibson. I think there's still a lot there in terms of talent. It's just that fumble problem is very frustrating and could cost the team games. But he's a great back, and hopefully the fumbling is coachable. Again, it's been a while since Ramondre has been around good offensive coaching. So,
and it's just funny too. I just found it funny because Gibson's whole problem in his career was the fumbling issues too. So it's like, how much better is he really? He just has less touches. So,
yeah, I think as far as like late day 2, early day 3 picks, I think center is also an underrated position that we should take care of.
Sure.
No David Andrews, it does create a hole there.
And what that Bradbury signing, I think, was only a year, right?
Right. So, and it's a good signing. So, again, it's less of a need and more of a. We've seen what happens when we don't have depth at center. When we have to go away from David Andrews and start like a Michael Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
Again, now with the Bentley release, linebacker depth could always be nice. Cornerback depth for sure. Because Marcus Jones, I think he's still a little inconsistent. That could honestly be a day 2 ask. I would not be surprised to see the Patriots take a cornerback as late as or as early as the 3rd round. And so I think when it comes to that, the Patriots have had success drafting cornerbacks in mid rounds. We had Marcus Jones has been a pretty good player for us, and Jack Jones would have been a really good player for us had we kept him. But definitely something we can do there. I think safety could always use some depth. I think Marte Mapu is still very much a question mark. We with the linebacker depth, we could even see him play more linebacker this year. Maybe that's where he finds his niche more than safety.
Sure.
But there is work to do there. There is some good depth at that position. Obviously, when you're talking at the very fringes, we do need a kicker. I don't know much about the kickers that are available.
I don't either. I've been hearing it's linked a lot to the University of Miami's kicker.
Borregales, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? 94.7% from field goals, perfect on extra points. I'll take that any day of the week. Long of 56. Got a lot of consistency. So wouldn't complain about that at all.
Because who's our kicker right now even? I don't even know.
I don't know because we released Joey Sly. I don't know if we already go on our depth chart. I don't know if there is a kicker.
I don't know why we let Sly go.
John Parker Romo.
Oh yeah, how could we forget?
Yeah, of course. Absolute beast. The Vikings guy. Okay. He's all right. 11 for 12. That's pretty good. Maybe we don't need a kicker. I would not be opposed to us neglecting kicker to get more depth elsewhere. Get a guy, get maybe a guy in undrafted free agency to compete with Romo and see how that goes. So, I was today years old when I found out that we had him, but he's a pretty good kicker. So, sure.
Maybe he's the next Vinatieri.
It doesn't feel like a crazy thing to say in New England.
No. He was nothing until he was something. He was a Canadian football leaguer, and
we already have the next right guy. So
no, we have the next. He's better than Ray Guy. We have the only. Why did I just forget his name?
Bryce Barrett.
Yeah, yeah, he's so good. I just forget him.
Yeah, and maybe when we end up getting a really bad kicker that paves the way for a fantastic draft pick years to come. All hail the Tank Commander.
You think Behringer could play both sides? You think he can play offense, defense, and special teams? Maybe he could slot in his left tackle every once in a while.
I'd be interested. Maybe he's got a little Pat McAfee in him.
Yeah.
I feel like we didn't really give the fake punts a try. I think with McDaniels in the picture, we should get more creative there.
Wildcat with Behringer.
There we go. But we have the 4th pick this year, and last year we gave all the credit to the Tank Commander, Chad Ryland, the goat of goats. He's the reason we got Drake May. Who is this year's Chad Ryland? Who is the player that we hated at the time, but we really need to give a big thank you for getting us this 4th pick?
Joe Milton is our anti-Chad Ryland.
Absolutely. Screw him because
I know, and we only got a 5th for the dumb guy. Come on.
oh goodness.
Who can we thank? I don't know. Probably Drew Lock. Wait, they're still ahead of us though.
Yeah, we got to thank someone on our own team.
On our own team.
Someone who we were really angry at during the season.
Vidarian Lowe.
Vidarian Lowe. Well, he was one of our leading touchdown catchers.
I know. I was about to say, oh yeah, we got to name someone who was kind of a bum, not our leading receiver. Jalen Polk, probably. I don't know.
Jalen Polk, yeah.
KJ Osborne.
Both good options. But I think KJ Osborne didn't do much. But I think in terms of the players who actively hurt us.
I feel bad, but I think it is Ramondre is one of them.
Ramondre's up there.
We can just lump our whole offensive line into one super person.
Yeah.
The Tank Commanders.
I think the reason I don't want to blame anybody from the offensive line is that I don't know. Like, I had no expectation for that group.
Can we just blame Mayo?
Is Mayo our Tank Commander? Are we going to be thanking Mayo for years to come
for Will
making
Campbell
so bad?
It is because of Gerard Mayo that we got Travis Hunter at 4.
Honestly, yeah. If we can get Travis Hunter at 4 somehow, because the teams above us realize just how incredible these quarterbacks are. I think Gerard Mayo has to become our podcast's next tag commander. I think it has to happen.
He would for sure be our tank commander if he lost that Bills game.
I know.
But he self-sabotaged on the way out. Thanks, guy.
It was kind of the it's like what Lovie Smith did when he won that game after he knew he was going to get fired.
Yeah,
off the Texans, their number 1 pick. Although after that, they ended up spending the 2 and 3 picks on C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. So I don't think Lovie accomplished what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
Maybe we do that. Maybe we trade up for the 5th pick and pick consecutive guys.
We get I'm trying to think.
There's just nobody overwhelmingly good enough though to warrant that.
I know.
Yeah.
Unless Carter and Hunter both fall.
That's true. Oh, if that happens, then we absolutely need to take both the 4th and the 5th pick.
I know.
But I really do like the idea of trading into the back of the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I think at least based on what I've seen in the draft boards, I think there's actually a bigger gap than usual between the players that you have at the end of the first and beginning of the second.
Right.
And do you have, what positions would you say are we we don't need to touch this in the draft? I think there are things to do.
Well, I'd say obviously quarterback.
Right.
I mean, we could really use depth everywhere, but if I would say if we were to do a late round pick really on any position, I wouldn't really be too upset. But I think it would kind of be a wasted pick if we were to use one of our first few picks on interior defensive line, just because of who we have there already. like a depth piece would make sense, but like you're not going to get a second round defensive lineman and be like, all right, you're going to rotate in there with Barmore and Williams. Like that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think corner, just because our 1 and 2 and 3 are pretty firmly set. But I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's any position where we really shouldn't touch. I think we should lean definitely more offense in this draft than defense. Because our defense, like on paper, is going to be. It would. I think top 10 isn't crazy to think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of one of the not luxuries, but one of the aspects of being a team very much on the rebuild. They're, to an extent, at least in the late rounds, to an extent, there's no wrong strategy if you're picking based on the best available.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, yeah, I think beyond definitely shoring up our receiver and tackle positions, I would not be angry if we simply go on, these are the best players available at this position.
Yeah. Like I think a lot of people like to overthink the draft, where it's like, oh, we're gonna get this sneaky guy, and it's like, okay, like sometimes that works, but it's like you could also just pick the better player.
I mean, we had the master of that. Nobody overthought the draft more than Bill Belichick, and as you saw in our best and worst, and I think at this point, like fifth through seventh, there's not much of a point other than just shouting out the best player ever picked in the 6th round, Bryce Behringer. Other than that, I feel like Belichick got some really great hidden gems, but he also got some duds of like you wanted to leave convention, and you instead picked someone who just didn't end up panning out.
We just got to draft like Philly and just take the obvious pick because that's been working for them the last handful of years.
Yeah, and like sometimes the highly rated player is rated highly for a reason.
Yeah. Like, yeah. Don't pick the Cole Stranges this year, Vrabel and Wolf.
If we pick a guard anytime before, like, anytime really before the 3rd round, I will be unhappy. But if we're going to pick a guard, pick a good one.
I'm just going to, every year it's the same thing where it's like, oh, we're going to get Lad McConkey, and then they don't trade up or whatever, and like, oh, we'll take Polk. Like Lad, like, I had strong convictions about McConkey, and I had the same about Egbuka. And if that whole thing plays out like I don't know, or like the obvious, like we were talking about a couple weeks ago, like Lamar was there and we passed on him twice for two guys who aren't even in the league anymore, and outside of Sony Michel's rookie year, never really made an impact.
Right, and it's one of those things. Yeah, you thought you had the position shored up, but you didn't, and you missed out on someone who could have been an unbelievable player for us.
We just can't get too cute. We can't like.
Then again, if you
everyone else is it's like, no, just do the right thing, please.
If we had drafted Lamar Jackson, we would not have been able to draft Drake May. So,
right,
everything happens for a reason, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't
know.
But
overall, if we end up taking Will Campbell and his athletic feet and his tiny hands and that 9.88 RAS, that's fine by me.
It's fine. He'll be fine. I mean, I know it's not the ideal, but it's like I think if he doesn't play as tackle, like he's still going to be on our line. I think he can shift into guard. You obviously don't want to take a guard at 4. But it's better than to be like, oh, he's a tackle or he's nothing. Like there is a little bit of versatility there. But it's also one of those things where it's like you don't take a guy at 4 and being like, well, maybe he's a guard. Like you don't want that.
Absolutely.
So hopefully he plays as a tackle.
Or even, I don't want to take a guy that. Yeah, I don't want to take a guard at 4, especially when our guard, like, I feel more. I at least feel more secure at guard than I do at tackle. Obviously, like there is improvement to be made, and I don't know if Cole Strange is ever going to get healthy at this point. But we made acquisitions in our interior to shore up our interior offensive line. It's not as crazy of a need as it has been, and I like Layden Robinson showed me enough that I also want to give him a bit of a chance. And I'm just short of having given up on Cole Strange. I'm not quite there. Especially and with Moses playing right tackle, we can have Mike Onwenu back to the position where he's best at. And so at that point, the position of need is the one where Vidarian Lowe is starting.
Right.
I'd honestly rather have Vidarian Lowe as a tight end 4 than than as a left tackle at this point.
Right.
It's like he's kind of stayed on this team by virtue of just not quite sucking enough to get released. But
he's just the perfect testament of the whole, well, who else do we have?
Yeah.
What better options do we have sort of thing.
And granted, Drake May isn't Mac Jones, but we saw the decline in play from Mac Jones when his offensive line got significantly worse, when he was no longer able to trust the guys around him. His release got way too quick. He got extremely hesitant because at any given moment he was going to get sacked. We don't want any reason for Drake May to be scared to be in the pocket. And obviously it's a little bit of a different game because he's able to get out of it. But when you've got an asset like this, when you've got a quarterback this talented, you've got an offense with this much potential, priority 1 should be protecting the quarterback.
Right.
And like, even though he is so athletic, Drake May did take more sacks than he needed to because of offensive line issues. And while I love when he's on the run, as a thrower, he's at his best when he has a comfortable pocket. There's no question about that.
Yeah, like it's a luxury for him to have that ability. Like for us to have a quarterback who can operate well outside of the pocket and scramble, like that's awesome. But that shouldn't be his play every time he takes a snap. Is always scrambling again and trying to make magic happen. Like,
I mean, even with the Patrick Mahomes, like you can see clearly how things change when he doesn't have an offensive lineman.
Right.
And the fact that like the magic's great once in a while, but if you're having to pull it off every play, all of a sudden it just
exactly. Yeah.
And so it's gonna be interesting. I'm really curious to see what happens. I'm gonna be really nervous right up until the 4th pick. But I will be on Stadium Rant's live stream for the draft, reacting live to the 4th pick. So definitely check that out and keep checking us out every week. We're going to be right back here next Tuesday, analyzing what we just saw. We'll be grading and we will be harsh because that's our job. But after that, we're going to need some ideas for what to do. It's about to get real boring in the off season between the draft and training camp. So let us know what you'd like to hear about. And in the meanwhile, we have our socials here on the bottom, at Stadium Rant HQ on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, at Sorvora on Twitter, at Aiden Hauser on Twitter to follow our personal accounts. I'm the science guy. He's the father of Patriots Nation, and we're the Gillette Gazette. See you next week.
See ya.